Kaspersky, a cybersecurity trust. 220,000 of corporate clients in 200 countries already trust us due to our proven global expertise and best-in-class products, confirmed by multiple international awards and recognitions. We are transparent and independent. We have relocated cyber threat-related data storage and processing to Switzerland and offer our source code for external reviews in 10 international transparency centers. We detect cyber attacks from all around the globe, and we know everything about threats from their source, daily detecting new attacks, threats, and malicious files. We help to crack the most sophisticated attacks ever known. Our security experts, including Kaspersky Great Team, track almost 1,000 APT groups worldwide and cooperate with global security organizations. As a cybersecurity leader, we create a mature, scalable product ecosystem for business that provides ultimate protection from all possible cyber attack vectors. We understand the needs, trends, and challenges of different industries and reduce the load on your cybersecurity personnel. We innovate and build a Kaspersky cyber immunity ecosystem where vulnerability or bad code are no longer a big deal. Protect your business from all possible cyber threats and build a cyber immune future with us. Kaspersky. Bring on the future.
Hi everyone, good morning to all of you. Just before we start, I want to see if everyone's with me right now. Do say hi on the chat box or drop your favorite emoji. Say good morning, just so I can see that everyone's with me today. So I see hearts, I see raise of hands, your favorite emojis. Okay, good morning to all of you. And thank you so much for being with us here today. My name is Ella, and I will be your host for today's session, Building Cyber Resilience for SMBs, a practical look at endpoint detection and response. We're very excited to have you join us as we dive into practical, cost-efficient ways to strengthen your organization's security posture. Kaspersky, together with cybersecurity experts, will walk you through how Kaspersky endpoint detection and response optimum and Kaspersky extended detection and response empower IT and security items to detect, investigate, and respond to threats faster, all while keeping costs and complexity low. So let's take a look at our agenda for today. So right now we're having the opening remarks or welcoming remarks, and in a few moments we will be having the webinar Scaling Security Maturity from Endpoint to Extended Detection and Response. And later we will be having a live Q&A. So don't be shy. If you have any questions at any point of the webinar, do drop them at the chat box below because we will be getting to that. And by the way, throughout the webinar, there will be handouts on your screen. So feel free to download them anytime you want. And now let me introduce our speakers for the day. So of course, to officially open today's session, we have Jose Luis Singson, Territory Channel Manager at Kaspersky, and Jason Ong, Pre-Sales Manager at Kaspersky. Now, to officially open up today's session, I'd like to invite Jolo, the Territory Channel Manager at Kaspersky, to deliver. Over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. No, so yeah, thank you so much for coming here, and I really appreciate you attending this session. And I know marami tayong ginagawa on our own, no. So it's we really appreciate you making time to join this webinar for us able to share what we have insights in terms of what we have on Kaspersky. And then I believe we've already known Kaspersky even before, but now we're going to be sharing with you along with Jason, our pre-sales manager, on how are we going to scale up in terms of the cybersecurity threats, and introduce Kaspersky again and what we have been up to. So let me just quickly share my screen. Okay. So, as we all know, so right now we've been engaging with cybersecurity threats. No? So, I believe cybersecurity it's not just only an IT problem. No, mostly we're gonna be bridging on the part of cybersecurity emerging with the business. No, along with you, especially on our part of the innovators and leaders of the organizations. So alam naman natin we are the one who's doing especially on doing the digital transformation, and we are the one who's driving on securing those organizations that we are currently into. No? So as we move forward to our digital world, especially on cybersecurity, so there are really top threats that we need to attend to. So especially on the part of where do we currently stand, we need to identify where do we currently stand right now on our security posture for us able to identify what would be our gaps right now, especially for the cybersecurity technology, the process, and the people that we have. No? So we need to be resilient, especially on the part of our organization, para at least we can know how to face the complex threats of cybersecurity. No? So allow me to introduce quickly Kaspersky. No? So Kaspersky is a global cybersecurity leader for more than 27 years already. No? So I believe kilala natin si Kaspersky before as an endpoint security solution, but we are really more than that. We have more solutions that we can offer to address, especially on our enterprise. We usually have to protect our data, critical data, secure our infrastructure. No? So we are more than just a cybersecurity solutions provider. So we are really committed in terms of transparency. We are committed to our customers, especially on the innovations that we do. No? So given there's a lot of talks in terms of AI. We also leverage on AI, research-based solutions, especially. No? So we are also present on 5 continents already. We are also more than 200 countries and territory worldwide. Okay, so we also provide actually on the part of innovation. Actually, we believe in innovation in a sense na nakikita natin yung trend ngayon sa mga cybersecurity partners natin and cybersecurity providers natin. They're doing really on the part of acquisitions. No? Ang Kaspersky kasi we believe on research and development on our product, wherein we do seamless integration based on our product. We have our own product, single pane of glass. How are we going to seamlessly integrate most of our solutions from endpoint, from XDR, from SIEM? No? So ganon yung development and research team coming in from Kaspersky, wherein we don't do actually on the part of the acquisition, but we do research and development of our own products. So just to share with you on the next slide would be our range of customers. Actually, we work in several industry verticals of our customers globally. So and we are still expanding on this particular industry and portfolio. So as you can see, we have 200,000 clients worldwide. So from healthcare, from oil and gas, from manufacturing, from transportation, information, telecoms. And we are still growing and serving our customers and enterprise and helping them secure their organizations all throughout their digital transformation journey. No? So just to quickly share with you, no, kasi I believe with Kaspersky, we in terms of the endpoint security that we have, ano ba yung nagiging leverage natin on endpoint security? And how are we doing the endpoint security? And how are we testing our products? So we have these several initiatives that we do. So number one would be the Global Transparency Initiative. So ano ba yung goal na ginagawa ng Global Transparency Initiative natin with Kaspersky? So we allow our clients for us able to test yung trustworthiness ng products natin. So including the business operations, including the part of how do we store our data, how are we going to process our data, no? In terms of how do we do the management of those data in Kaspersky. No? So we also let our partners to do the review of source code in terms of how are we going to secure there's no hidden features, no, or hidden security risk that we have on our platform. No? So we also do regular independent assessments like SOC 2 audit, ISO 27001 certification, and of course, yung mga transparency center natin worldwide, they are strategically located for us able to identify those gaps, especially on each area globally. No? And then number 2 would be the part of the independent testing. No? So ano ba yung ginagawa ng independent testing na ginagawa ni Kaspersky? No? So si Kaspersky is really a fan of doing the independent testing of the product solution. So including dito yung mga bug bounty programs na ginagawa natin. So from that particular aspect of independent testing, we let several organizations to test our product. No? So actually, we do regular tests and assessment of our product. So for the last 2024, we actually participated on 95 test review. So 91 of those, we have reached first place on that particular independent testing. And then 97% of those, we've reached top 3 on those independent testing, given that the success and the part of recognition ng awards that we have received is given really on the part of the success ng solutions namin that contributes to the threats and the emerging threats coming in, especially on the part of the enterprise. And of course, just to introduce as well, ano ba yung ginagawang contribution ni Kaspersky in terms of the global community of the cybersecurity community? No? So we work side along with Interpol and law enforcement agencies. No? So yung ginagawa namin for that is we are the one who provide information. We provide as well on the part of cybercrime investigation on those law enforcement agencies, no, including the operations. We also feed our threat intelligence platform. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar on the micro attack framework. For us able to have a pure accuracy on the map, especially on mapping on the attack framework, no. So this will help us map out kung ano ba yung mga common threats on or complex threats na nare-receive natin for us able, especially on the part of our analysts, to identify ano ba yung mga threats and attacks that we can map out on the attack framework. No? So we also help on the part of strengthening the tech companies, like for example, Google, Microsoft, Adobe, and of course, and every other big tech companies, no, for us able to help them on the zero-day vulnerabilities. No? So this is one of the part of the contribution of Kaspersky globally in terms of providing or feeding the information on our threat intelligence, given the research that we have, especially on the upcoming and emerging threats that's happening worldwide. Okay, so just to share with you, every expertise center of Kaspersky kasi has each contribution for us able to have a success on the product and portfolio of Kaspersky. No? So let me just quickly share with you, ano ba yung mga 5 expertise centers na yun? No? Ano ba yung ginagawa nila each department and ano yung ginagawa nilang contribution based on how are they going to help Kaspersky in the product and portfolio. Okay, number 1 would be the GREAT team or Kaspersky Global Research and Analysis team. So yung team na to yung gumagawa or they are the one who is really responsible on the APT or analyzing on the APT attacks. Cyber espionage campaigns, yung mga trends on the international cybercrime. And of course, they are strategically located globally for them able to identify what are the common threats and what are the top threats emerging on each countries. No? So number 2 would be the Kaspersky Threat Research. So they are the one who is currently responsible on the foundation of the product development. So their responsibility is major on the part of the detailed tactics and techniques or TTP, kung tawagin natin. And then yung mga threat actors natin to drive especially on the new development of our products. Okay? And then AI or Kaspersky AI technology research. So I believe we've been hearing AI for almost several years now. But with Kaspersky, we are already leveraging that yung AI capabilities na yan for actually more than 2 decades already. No? So yung 2 decades na yun, ano bang ginagawa ni Kaspersky in terms of the AI development and how are they going to help our products and portfolio. No? So for this particular slide of AI and technology, so we have been really leveraging on AI and machine learning for us able to help the threat detection, the alert triaging na ginagawa natin, especially on the part of the generative AI na ginagawa. So this one as well contributes on our XDR and SIEM platform for us able to identify what would be the automated response that we can do and for us able to have yung smarter insight natin for our analysts. Okay? So, for our Kaspersky Security Service naman, so dito papasok yung mga services that we offer especially for Kaspersky. So, this is the team who's responsible as well on helping especially on the large enterprise in strengthening in clients' capability of SOC. No? So, dito papasok yung mga part of the security assessment, managed detection, and yung mga digital footprints natin kung tawagin. No? And then, lastly would be the part of Kaspersky ICS cert or tinatawag natin na industrial capability ni Kaspersky. No? So, ito yung frontline defense ni Kaspersky in terms of the industrial services. No? So, this includes or actually they mainly focus on the part of the critical infrastructure like for example, yung mga machine-to-machine capabilities natin. Of course, dito we will be focusing more on the part of manufacturing, logistics, and transportations. No? Especially on the part of the medical or the healthcare sector. No? So, they are the one who's doing the continued research and develop yung mga and new threats that we are discovering on an IoT level. No? So I believe on this particular area, on this particular slides that we're offering, especially on the Kaspersky Expertise Centers, these 5 Kaspersky main centers are helping on the success of growth of Kaspersky. No? So I believe you've already seen in terms of how do we do, especially on the part of Kaspersky, in terms of the introductions. No? And then I will quickly turn over right now to Jason for us able to identify ano ba yung mga common threats that we have, and then somehow we understand what Kaspersky is offering more than just an endpoint. No? I believe Jason will help us as well on understanding ano ba yung mga capabilities na ginagawa coming in from the Kaspersky perspective, and how it will help on the enterprise level move in, especially on securing our digital transformation journey. So yeah, I think Jason, I'll transfer to you the stage.
Yep. Thanks, Jolo. Thank you for the introduction and the overviews on Kaspersky. So yeah, good morning, everyone. So again, let me quickly introduce myself again. My name is Jason. I'm a pre-sales manager. I'm based in Malaysia, but I'm covering the AEC region, which is including Philippines as well. So yeah, hope to see you guys soon in futures. Yeah. So I think you guys was already able to see there's a poll question that's been popping up in the sessions. So before we start the sessions, before I start my presentation, I would like to see what is the response on those poll questions. Let's just give about another minute to see there are more questions, more answers coming in. So the question basically is, what is your top cybersecurity priority for 2026? All right, so now we can see that the majority is on the first one, which is to improve the visibility across endpoint networks, which is good. The second one, which is catching up right now, is automated threat detection and response. All right, so there are some replies on the expanding SOC capability and meeting compliance and audit requirements. All right, so I don't see anyone's answer for the consolidating tools to reduce costs and complexities. Okay, good. All right, so I appreciate all the answers. So from the poll feedbacks, I can see that majorities of the audience here is actually looking for solutions to improving the visibility across the endpoint and networks, which is, I think this is one of the crucials in terms of to enhance the security posture exposure, especially nowadays. Our working nature is different. A lot of work remotely, we remotely working at outside, so we are not in the office anymore. So that's why when we're carrying our laptops or doing our jobs, the endpoint security is actually playing a very important role as the first layer of defense. Yeah. All right. Let me quickly share my screens. So let's start for our my slide for today. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I think you guys should be able to see the screen right now. So yeah, so basically today's session that I'm going to brief you guys is that how basically Kaspersky can help customer to building up their cyber resilience, or in terms of to improve the cyber resilience for their environment, especially on the endpoint perspective. So yeah, I mean, we all know that just now I mentioned that the threat landscape nowadays was changed, all right? It keep on evolving. You will see a lot of data breach happenings, regardless what kind of industries or what kind of size organization that you have. Not only this kind of data breach not only happening for those larger organizations, they're also targeting for those small and medium size of business, because for them, that is an easy target for them, right? So they won't create so much of public news for those SMB environments compared to the larger organization. So that's why you can see that the attacker, the favorite still on the SMB compared to those larger organizations. So we don't say that. So I mean, from this, you can see that this the attacker won't choose a specific industry. So no matter whether you're SMB or a larger enterprise, they'll still become their targets. So here from the start, you can see here, this is some of the common customer challenges that we are seeing now, recently, especially like I mentioned, the cyber threat and attack surface is expanding. right? So a lot of more and more users, they are working from home or remotely. So it will be create the attack surface is actually expanding, because you are no longer in the office network that you have all those defense parameters like your firewall, next-gen firewall, proxy, everything in place. So and then some more, the cyber threat nowadays keep on evolving, right? And a lot of sophisticated threat is actually happening nowadays. And then when this thing happen, basically we're going to cause a business disruption in terms of financial damage, dollar and cents. And the most important thing is the branding of the organizations, whereby the reputational is damaged, is more than those that the customer is expected. Then the last thing is that the limited resources, all right? So with the lack of a qualified personnel or the budgetary constraint, and you have so-called like an understaffed pain point that most of the organization might be facing, especially for SMB. They don't have enough skill sets people. They have knowledgeables to helping customer to improve the mean time of detections, because when data breach is happening or the incident is happening, how fast you can detect and respond is the crucial, right? So with this kind of limited resources, it's very hard for the organization can respond and detect fastest whenever the disaster, whenever there's this kind of malware incidents happen in organizations. So what Kaspersky basically can bring to the organization in terms of the business benefit is that we have our solutions to help customers to prevent the widespread and the evasive attacks, including spyware, or even though the ransomware that you might be heard. They're getting more and more cases happening in terms of ransomware to ask for the ransom in order to decrypt the files, right? And then we also allowing the business to operate and expand without worrying the security concern brought by the employee. Because I would say that no matter how much defense parameter that you have in organization, human is still the weakest link in the entire the kill chain, because most of the threats actually come from the internal users, that they might be accidentally clicking some of the phishing links that actually, because phishing link, we know this is the commonly used by the attackers to become their first entry point to attack those machines, right? So human is always the weakest link. So how we can helping the end users in terms to improve their security awareness, this is also one of the things that we can bring the benefit to the organization, whereby I'll be sharing more information on this in the later slide. And then we're also helping customers to conserve the resource by simply we need to provide a simple tools, but it's more effective for them to automate the entire response options, right? Whenever this kind of incident response is needed. So just now, based on the pool questions, there's one, majority of them is actually choosing that you want to have some automated tools for you to do detection and also respond on the endpoint levels. So this is also something that actually Kaspersky can bring the values to organizations. So Kaspersky Next basically is our product offering from Kaspersky, from different tier. We do have a different tiers of a solution or bundling of a solutions based on the size of the organizations. So the one that you see on the left here, we call it optimum tiers. So this optimum tier is basically majority is for those like SME business. Then we offering a powerful endpoint detection, or multi-layer endpoint detection platform together with the EDR as well. And then on the right-hand side, which is on the expert, that if let's say you already have a very matured in terms of the securities, and you want to enhance further on the XDR, the full-blown of XDR capability with the SIM, like Jolo was mentioned. And so this is where the expert tier is basically what we can offer to the customer as well. But today what we're going to focus is on the SMB business, which is on the optimum layer. So you can see from this chart, the optimum layer, even though we have the EDR, but the foundation, the EDR foundation is very crucial. That is to build a very great foundations by providing our powerful engines in terms of the endpoint protections. Right. Before we talk about EDR, the endpoint protection basically is the foundations for every single endpoint securities. You need to have a great anti-malware solutions or anti-malware engines to be in place for you to help you to prevent this kind of attacks coming into your endpoint levels. Then after you have a foundation on your endpoint protections, then you can slowly move on to the detection and response, whereby we're also offering with our EDR Optimum, and also our XDR Optimum as well. Again, I will be sharing more information in the later slide. So let's move on to this. Like just now I mentioned, the strong EPP, the endpoint protection basically is the foundations for the entire solution that what we have. So that's why with the strong endpoint protection that we have, that customer will have this enhanced anti-malware features that we can cover multi-layer of protections, come from file protections, web protection, even though for the mail client protection as well, to help it to prevent this kind of malware attacks from different vectors. And then we also have our endpoint controls, system hardening, data protection, patch management as well, to conclude this entire powerful endpoint protection features that we have in our EDR foundation as a foundation for this entire solutions. And then when you have this EDR foundation was already in place, then you try to move one step further to start to have an EDR capability. And this is where our next EDR Optimum that actually offering to customers. First, it will include whatever features that we have in the EDR foundations with all this endpoint protection platform that I mentioned earlier. Apart from that, you also provide those EDR capabilities for you to do further detection or investigation whenever there's a threat is happening. All right. Again, I will elaborate further. And then with that, we also provide additional protection in this EDR Optimum to provide some security training for your IT teams, so they can have better understanding of what kind of threat that could be happening. By enrolling them with all this kind of IT training, then they have a better understanding and to upskill them on this kind of cybersecurity skill set. Right. So let's deep dive further on what are the endpoint protection features that actually offered by our EDR foundations. So first of all, which is the very important component, which is our anti-malware, which is our award-winning multi-layer anti-malware component. So just now, Jolo was already mentioned in the slide that we have been participate 95 tests, and then we also score quite big numbers of the tests that we are actually at the top 3, right? So this test is actually to be proof that our solution basically is fully tested by the independent testers. It's proven that the technology is workable. I mean, it works and efficiently to able to help customer to prevent this kind of malware incidents, right? So with this multi-layer anti-malware, we have a signature base, right? Of course, signature base is the basic one, that you have a signature. You have a list of a signature helping to detect those kind of known malware. But for those unknown malware, of course, we do have a cloud-assisted technology, which is called Kaspersky Security Networks. This is the cloud-assisted technologies that from our customers, when you install with our endpoint securities, you can choose to have options whether you want to send those suspicious malicious file into our KSN. So our backend, which is our expertise center that Jolo was mentioned just now, we do have our threat researchers that they will contribute their human intelligence to help you to investigate whether this unknown malware what is the verdict on after they do investigation. Is it the confirm is a malware, and what kind of information that actually we can provide from our threat researchers. At the same time, we can also leverage our AI technologies to help you to reduce the false positive of the detections, right? So pattern-based, because normally for those like unknown malware, you don't have a signatures, but we can study the patterns, whether this pattern is similar from the known malware that has been discovered before. If the pattern is matched, we can also classify this is a suspicious malicious file, right? So this is all this multi-layer anti-malware is actually helping you to enhance the capability for you to detect those malware that have been happening in those endpoint levels. So these are some of the key features that we have in our endpoint protections. The exploit prevention is basically to helping you to keep track any executables that run by the vulnerable applications. And then we can block those suspicious activity if, let's say, we're able to find there's an exploit coming from those applications. All right. So web protections is that one that we have whenever the user try to browse any website. I'm not sure whether you guys heard about, let's say there's a website, maybe it was already compromised. It looks like a legitimate website, but it was already compromised by the attackers, and the attacker will put in some drop-by downloads. Whenever the user browse the website, the piece of the malware could be automatically downloaded to the endpoint. So, and then with this web protection, whenever we discover this kind of suspicious activity during the web browsing activities, the web protection will be kickstart and then try to block this kind of to prevent any dangerous script to be running from the machines. And then of course we do have an email protection as well, as I mentioned. So whenever the email has been passed through your email gateway securities, eventually the email come into the email client, which is kind of like an Outlook's email clients. So this email protection will be act as your last line of defense. Whenever user try to open up any files or any attachments that contain those malicious content, this email protection will helping you to stop or prevent this kind of malicious attachment to be executed from the endpoints, right? And of course, with the remediation engines, this is very useful that, for example, if let's say there's some ransomware malware the ransomware payload has been executed from the endpoint itself, and when the ransomware try to do some encryption, because we know eventually ransomware will try to encrypt those important files, right? Whenever we discover this kind of a suspicious this encryption activity happening from the protected machines, this remediation action based the remediation engine basically will help you to stop this kind of actions, and then you're able to roll back whatever changes has been done by the malware itself. So to user, it's actually transparent, but at the back end, it's actually this remediation engine will actually kickstart to doing the works. Whenever they detect this kind of a suspicious encrypting activity happening, it's able to help you to roll back to the previous state. So to users, nothing changed on the files, but at the back end, the component basically helping you to prevent this kind of encryption happening. And then apart from that, we also have our behavioral detections. So as I mentioned earlier, you can't only rely on the signature base, right? Because signature base, you could be bypass some of the unknown malware. So that's why with these behavioral detections, we're able to leverage our machine learning algorithms to see that is there any pattern has been discovered before, then we can match it with the same malware categories, even though there's no signatures has been released for this particular malware or this particular hash files, right? So we can use the behavior detection to detect those unknown malicious malware. And then with our KSN, as I mentioned, this is our cloud-assisted platform that all those, we can receive those anonymized data regarding maybe there's a malware or suspicious behaviors. Then we have our backend, our threat researchers with our AI, machine learning, everything. They will help you to analyze the files, and eventually they will give you the verdicts whether this is a malicious file or not. And this information basically is shared across globally for those Kaspersky users that enroll with this KSN capabilities. Then after you have all these fundamental endpoint protection was already in place, the next thing that can help you to do your system hardening to prevent any further damage, you try to close the gap for every single aspect from your endpoints, right? So now you already have your endpoint protection, like a multi-layer anti-malware that I mentioned just now. We also provide you some other capabilities for you to close the gap on your endpoint loopholes. So one of that is that we can do system hardening. All right, so we do have a capability called adaptive anomaly control. This is where the component will helping you to study the behavior of the users. I give you examples. If let's say there's a normal user from finance, when they open up an Excel file, whereby the Excel file will trigger some PowerShell scripts, that is very suspicious, right? Compared to the developers, all right, the IT department, whereby there's a developers there, when we discover some activities that this user tried to execute some files, eventually it launched some PowerShell script. So this is normal for the IT developers, right? But it's considered a suspicious activity compared to a normal user like finance user, whereby they are not supposed to run the PowerShell scripts during the day-to-day operation jobs, right? So this adaptive anomaly control basically will help you to study the user behavior. Eventually, you will give the baseline to it, and then you can create some prevention rules to block if let's say there's some suspicious activities that is not what I studied before for this particular users, then you will kickstart this prevention rule to prevent this activity to be run or executed from these users. So this is very powerful and very user-friendly to let customer to control the policy according to the user behaviors. Then apart from that, we also have this vulnerability and patch management, because we all know that when you install with operating system, Microsoft, they keep on come up the security patches regularly, right? So the reason they come up with these patches is to patch the loopholes for the operating systems. And not only for operating system, for your third-party application that you install in your laptops, you might have a tons of a third-party application like WinZip, WinRAR, Adobe's, anything related to third-party applications. So from time to time, this third-party application, they also release the patches to close the loophole or maybe the vulnerability for those particular applications. So the loopholes for this patch management is actually also contribute one of the largest attack vectors for the attacker try to penetrate into organizations. So to close the gap, we also provide you with the same platforms, we also provide you the users to have this patch management, not only to patch the operating system vulnerability, but at the same time to patch the vulnerability on those third-party software applications as well. Okay. And then with this, apart from that, we also have some security control that you can be implemented to those user endpoints. Like for example, we do have application control. This is where you can set up, we have two modes for this application basically. One is the blacklisting mode, one is a whitelisting mode. So the whitelisting mode basically pretty simple. You just define what are the allowed applications to be run on these particular machines. Let's say you have 10 applications has been defined, only this 10 application can be launched from the particular machines. Apart from that, all this application will be prevented to be launched. Whereby the other way is the blacklisting, which means that you need to define what are the applications that you want to blacklist, right? So we have these two modes. It's up to the organizations to see which one that they want to utilize it, right? And then we have a web control. This is where you can have a centralized control over the access for any non-work related or suspicious web resources. Like for example, I can enable some of the categories like social medias, drugs, weapons, those non-work related or suspicious web resources to prevent user to launch to these web categories, right? So it's very effective for them to prevent the user to launch those kind of browsing activities to those non-work related or suspicious work resources. And then lastly, we have our device control. Remember, I mean, maybe nowadays lesser people start to use, getting lesser and lesser people using a USB pen drive, but this is still a very useful way, easiest way for us to transfer the file or sharing the file among our internal users. So, but we all know that this USB pen drive could be carry a malware, right? We never know, right? Because this pen drive could be plugged in from different kind of devices. Eventually, the malware might already infected this particular USB pen drive. So to prevent this kind of thing happen from a USB pen drive, the device control basically can be enabled to restrict the user access to various of devices. Like for example, you're only trusted for your company own USB pen drive. Other than that, nobody can plug into the any pen drive to the organizations, right? And then you can also configure some of the scanning tasks as well. Whenever there's a new pen drive connected to my laptop that installed with our endpoint securities, it will do some quick scanning or thorough scanning to make sure everything has been scanned first before the user can use this pen drive, right? All right, so now you already have the fundamentals in terms of endpoint protection platform was already in place, right? Like I mentioned just now, the multi-layers, so web controls, security control, patch management, everything was already in place. Now you have a fundamentals protections in the endpoint levels, in the endpoint levels. But we all know that the EPP, the endpoint protection platform, is no longer sufficient for nowadays, right? Like just now I mentioned that there's a lot of organizations that you guys are still looking some of the detection and response, right? So this is where the EDR has come to the pictures to closing the gap for the EPP, because the endpoint protection is they have a very powerful capability to help you to prevent the malware to be executed here. But the thing is that the solution will only help you to prevent by stopping, but you don't know what is the root cause for this entire thing. You don't have a full visibility that what this incident is actually coming from, right? I give you an example. The users could be open up emails from their Outlook clients. They download the Word attachment files. So this Word attachment files, when the user open up the files, it's actually launching some of the macros or some PowerShell script. Eventually, this script is creating some of the command files and also create some of the registry in the endpoint registries, right? So all these incidents the endpoint protection can help you to detect if, let's say, this executable or this files has been downloaded from the email client, is suspicious or not. If it's yes, then it can help you to detect and remove it. But the endpoint protection platform doesn't tell you the entire end-to-end story. This is where the EDR capability come into the handy. They're telling you that what is really happening from the beginning until the end. All right, so this is where the EDR response that we have in the next tiers with what we call the EDR optimum. But before I move on to the next slide, probably we can share the second poll question, if you don't mind. We try to understand further from the audience based on the poll questions. So the question basically is that how does your organization currently manage the threat detection and response? All right, so again, let's give about a minute to let everyone try to put in the answers. Okay, I got 11 answers right now. Okay, keep it up, keep it up. Okay, until now, I can see majority of them actually saying that we rely mainly on antivirus and endpoint protection. Okay, fair enough. The top two will be we use EDR solution for detection investigation. Great, great. Okay, so the next one is centralized security management, which is SOC. Okay, we're exploring XDR or already piloting one. Okay, great. So, okay, which is good, means that I don't see at this moment, out of these 26 answers, I don't see any one of them is actually putting the answer, say not sure or need guidance. Means that you guys will already have some understanding that how EDR is actually important. It's important. Not only that relies on the endpoint or the antivirus solutions. All right, again, I appreciate all the answers for the poll questions. So let's move on to the slide again let me try to elaborate further or explain further that what are the capability that we can offer in terms of EDR. So apart from the endpoint protection platform that I mentioned just now, Kaspersky also offering an EDR capability that you're seeing here. So first of all is that we can able to help you to detect the indicator of compromise, because in every kind of incident happen, it will contribute some of the indicator of compromise to saying that there's a signals that this machine was already compromised, either by malware, and so on and so forth. So this indicator of compromise is very important for us to identify whether this machine was already infected or not. So we're able to capture all these indicator of compromise from all those machines when you want to do some threat hunting or investigation. Is very important. So with this indicator of compromise that you gather so far, you can actually run a scanning or by using this particular IOC that you detected for these machines, you can actually create a scanning task by using the same IOC to scan across all the endpoints in your network to see anyone else having the same IOCs or not. Right. So this is very important for you to trace, is there some others machine was already infected. Then the next thing, which is the most important thing, is the root cause analysis. As I mentioned that without this root cause analysis, you don't have a full picture or the inside view from the beginning until the end, what the malware or what the incident has been happening. So based on the example that I mentioned, with this root cause analysis, we will give you the graph to spot the entire incident, what is really happening. The execution maps, for example. Let's say the first one is come from email client, which is Outlook. Eventually, you download a Words file. Words file executes some PowerShell. PowerShell maybe create some registry files in your registry or deleting some of the files in your system, so on and so forth. So all these things, the EDR will be documented and then logged into the system. So when you study the root cause analysis, you know from the beginning until the end what is really happening for this entire incident. Right. So now you already know what's really happening, and then you can start to do some automated response. Right. So we do have some built-in response guidance, and also some of the automation response mediation as well. And then we also provide you some of the enrichments from our threat intelligence portal, so you can have more details that what is really happening on this particular incident. Like for example, maybe the hash files. When is the first scene and when is the last scene for this particular hash file or IP address or domain name that we discovered so far. So this is the IOC that I mentioned just now. So the IOC, we do have our own IOC detected. If let's say you also need to import some of the IOC from your any trusted sources or any third-party IOC, you can also import into the platform itself, and then you can do some scanning to do a cross scanning on all those endpoints to see any other machine actually match with this IOC. Okay. And then this is how the thing looks like. So you can select the IOC either from ours, or you can select using any third-party reports or threat intelligence or any kind of regulatory bodies to prepare the list of the recent attack indicators. And then you can scan through the entire networks, all the endpoint that you have, and then you can also choose what are the actions if, let's say, the IOC is found on those devices, right? So the action basically you can do is like you can isolate the host from the networks. You can even trigger a scan for the critical areas for the machines, or even though you can straight away delete or quarantine the files from the infected machines, right? So eventually, when you run the whole things, you can create the regular schedule scanning for this entire IOC scannings in your environments. So this is what I mentioned, the root cause analysis. So you can see that from the beginning, what is the program actually starting, what is the starting programs, and then eventually what is really happening. Maybe there's some other executable file is launching. All right. So with this root cause analysis, you have all the entire insight views on what's really happening. And we are not only provide you in the table listing, we're also giving you on the graph as well. So this graph basically is easy for you to see that what is you can analyze the entire queue change for this incident. Where is the starting point? What is the actually the exact executable that causing the damage, and what the damage has been done. It's either creating a registry, or there are some files being created, or maybe they establish some of the connections to the CNC server. Because we know whenever the disaster or the incident happens, the malware itself, they need to establish a session to the CNC for further actions, either do some data breaching or data causing some of the damage to the machines. So they still need to connect to the CNC server in order to receive the orders from the CNC servers, right? So with this entire threat visibility, you know what exactly is happening for this incident, and this is where you can enhance the entire detection and response process. And then once you know that what is really happening, what is the response that you can do, you either can quarantine the executable files that are actually causing the damage, and then you can also block it. All right, you can either remove it, or you can download the files, or maybe you remove it to our quarantine folders. You can also send to our Kaspersky Cloud Sandbox, whereby I'm going to elaborate further that the capability that what we have that you can integrate to our Cloud Sandbox to analyze these malicious files. All right, you can quarantine it. Then, of course, the most important actions that you can do for this automated response is to isolate the infected devices. So this isolations process is basically that they cut down this entire network connections from the infected machines to the outside world. All right, but it still remain the connections to our management server, because we still need to have a visibility to these machines, right? So the connection is cut off all the outbound traffic to the external networks, but it still remain the internal network between the management console and also the host itself. All right. So this is where that you can cut down the communications between the CNC for the infected devices to prevent the communications to the CNC server for further damage. And this is to buy you some time for the investigations, because whenever things is happening, you might not know this infected device will start to do some lateral movement and try to do a cross-infection to some other devices as well. So in order to prevent this lateral movement, first thing, you can isolate these machines from the networks. Then it will buy you some time to do further investigations. So after the investigation is done, then you can confirm there's no further damage or further infections happening in this machine. Then that's why you can release this machine from the isolations. Then this machine will be back in online and able to communicate back to the external network again. Right. So these are the automated response that you can do from our EDR platforms. So now you have an EPP, your endpoint protection, you have an EDR. A lot of users, they might be start to adopt or start to looking for XDR capabilities. Right. So the XDR capability can be from essential XDR, can be up to the full-blown XDR, whereby you need to combine with all the data sources within your organization, But that will be a very complex environment unless your environment was really mature enough in terms of securities that you want to combine all these resources and you have a consolidated platform for you to do data collections, investigation, and also remediation for all the resources, data sources that you have. Let's say your firewalls, your web proxies, your DLP, your endpoints, so on and so forth. So that is a full-blown XDR that we also provided in our XDR expert that I mentioned just now. But now when we talk about some of the organization, maybe their lack of a skill set and the maturity of the security is not there, but they are also looking for some XDR capability, the essential XDR capability. So that's why our XDR Optimums tiers is actually offer some essentials XDR capability. It's not like a full-blown XDR as I mentioned just now with SIEM or with some other platform that actually help you to centralize all your defense parameter in the organizations. But this next XDR Optimum basically to provide some essential XDR to the organization whereby they might want to start to looking for essential XDR capabilities. They are not ready for a full-blown XDR yet. So this is where this XDR Optimum comes into the picture that can bring the benefit to the organizations. So first of all, XDR Optimum, basically you have all the features that I mentioned just now. We have our strong EPP in our EDR foundation. We have all these features. And also the XDR Optimum that I mentioned just now, all the EDR capability is also equipped in this XDR Optimum. A part of that, it will come with additional XDR capabilities. First of all, we provide you this alert aggregations, sandbox features, and then there's some more automated response that you can do. And also, we also provide you this security awareness. It's like you can have some security awareness training to those users. As I mentioned earlier, user is always the weakest link in the entire organizations. So this security awareness basically is very helpful for you to enable the users to improve their security awareness in the organizations. They are not going to simply click this suspicious link in the emails, or they need to make sure that the password is not shared among the colleagues. So all these things will be covered in this security awareness training programs, right? So these are the additional 4 capability in our XDR offering in the XDR Optimum that I mentioned. So alert aggregations is very useful, especially, alert aggregation, security awareness. This one I will elaborate further in every single items in the next slide. So first of all, let's go through these alert aggregations. So alert aggregations, if let's say without these aggregations, whenever you have, I give you an example, if you have some 100 hosts in your organizations, each of the hosts actually contribute 100 alerts, which means that you have thousands and thousands of alerts that you want to monitor because everything will be distributed, right? You need to investigate every single logs, even though you have an EDR. So with this alert aggregation that we have in our XDR Optimum, basically we can help customer to aggregate all these informations to be much more easier for you to investigate. So the aggregation can do a groupings, right? You can group by a device name. So let's say a device name, what are the device name? And then what are the incident is related to this particular device. So everything will be grouped accordingly based on the filter that you want to enable here. Let's say you want to enable the filters for device and name, then you will group all these two together. Anything incident or events is combined with these 2 criteria, it will just group it into one single entries. So you just expand or collapse these groups, these events, it will showing whatever is relevant events is over here. Right. So for the investigation perspective, it's actually shorter the time for you to do some aggregation works, easy for you to understand what is really happening that is grouping a similar groups or even the user accounts. Okay. So this is the first features that we have in our XDR Optimum, which is alert aggregations, faster for you to faster do a detection and also the investigation as well. Then the next thing is our integration with our security awareness platform. We call it Kaspersky Automated Security Awareness Platform, KASAP, right? In short form, we call it KASAP. So this is the online platform that we can enroll the users to attend to those online security awareness program, security awareness training to improve their security awareness, right? So with the integration with our XDR capabilities, so remember just now that with the EDR, you know exactly what this user is happening, what is this incident all about, which user is actually involving. So if you find out that this user is causing this entire malware incidents, you can actually select these users and then enroll them to a specific training that you have created in the platforms, right? So you can assign them immediately or straight away from the XDR platform itself. Then the user will be enrolled to a specific training that you've been assigned to them. So you can even see that what is the status, how many courses has been assigned to these users. Let's say I can configure this training to have a phishing level 2, right? Or even though a training regarding a secure password, right? So the training we have intermediate from a beginners, intermediate, and up to the advanced trainings. So it's up to the organization or the administrators how you can configure what kind of training level they want to create into the group and then assign it to a specific user whenever this kind of incidents happen, right? So just a quick introduction as what is our Kaspersky Automated Security Awareness Platform. Again, it's a cloud-based online platform that we have all this, we have about more than 350 practical skills that actually we can develop in terms of cyber safety habits for all the users, for all your users. So all these training are the interactive learning modules. And then we also have at the end of the session or at the end of the training, we will also establish some of the simulated phishing attacks to make sure that the user, they are really gone through all the training, they have improved their security awareness. They are not going to simply click on those phishing emails. And this is the objective, that at the end of the sessions or at the end of the training, we will actually run some simulated phishing attack to make sure that user doesn't click on these phishing links. So all these simulated phishing attack you can customize based on your preference. Let's say you want to put in your draft the content itself. Everything can be customizable. And then the training, as I mentioned, is all interactive. We have a main course, which is more in details courses. And if you just want to create some courses, which is actually for express, means that it's a shorter course, maybe a few minutes, just to play some videos to let your end user know what is important to have a secure password and not to click phishing links, and all these things you can just assign them to express course. Otherwise, you can create a proper training course, let's say for them to finish it within 3 months. Need to make sure you can track their progress as well. Within these 3 months, are they on track or are they behind the schedule? They need to complete the entire training plus the exam within this 3-month period of time, or even longer, maybe 1 year. So everything can be configurable, right? So the training content, all the training material is actually, we cover various topics. Could be coming from emails, anything related to emails, password accounts, or web browsing, social networks, so on and so forth. And we do provide some of the hashtag. When you click the hashtag, you would recommend to you that what other available training is in our CASA platform, right? Then the next integration that we have in the XDR Optimum offering is the automated response, the new response scenario that we have. So if let's say you have your Active Directory environments, right? So whenever we detect there's some infection or there's some malicious activities that discover that is caused by these particular users, it's actually you can do some response to this user by integrating to your AD. So this is the AD users. Whenever I found out this incident, actually I can lock this account, and then the integration happening, it will block this account or disable this account in your Active Directory. So the user cannot be accessed with the same account to the domain environment anymore. Or you want to reset the password, right? Or eventually you want to add or remove the user from a specific security groups. Let's say, for example, this user is supposed to have privileged groups. Let's say they are domain admins. So whenever this incident happens, I want to remove this user, let's say Jason, from domain admin groups. So you can do this action from this integration directly from our management console as well. Okay, so you can add or remove to a security groups in your Active Directories. And then the last integration we have is that we do have a sandbox integration, because we do provide a sandbox solution in our threat intelligence offering. So whenever there's a event happening and then there's a malicious file has been discovered, you can move this file into a quarantine folders in our platforms. Then after that, you can submit this file in the quarantine folders, submit into our threat intelligence sandbox, right? So after that, you will try to execute this file in our sandbox environment, in the isolated sandbox environment. Eventually, it will tell you the result. What is a summary on this particular, when we run these executables into a sandbox environment. whether we confirm this is a malicious files, and then we'll provide you all these details, that what is the hash files, file execution time, what is the if let's say you try to execute, try to launch some of the URL or domain name, everything will be listed up in the results. So what are the key capability for this sandbox simulation? First of all, you can see the entire suspicious activity monitoring, whether there's any file operation has been done, file created, delete files, modifications of files, or registry operation, process operation. All these things will be capturing in during this when you run this file in our sandbox environment. It will document all these activities for you, what happened when you execute this file in our sandbox. And then at the same time, we also provide the screenshot as well. Whenever you execute the files in our sandbox, what are the prompt? Is there any prompting up message into the environments? Then we will also provide you the screenshot as an evidence as well, what is really happening when you execute a file in the sandbox. And then we can eventually, you got the result, you can actually export this result. If you want to share to any third-party system, you can export into a variant of formats like CSV, JSON file, PCAP, or sticks. Right? You can export these findings into a third-party system that you have. And then we also have mapped this execution map. It means that when you execute the files, what is the execution maps, what is really happening, then it will document everything for you. And then we can actually map all this execution to map with the MITRE attacks. If you guys aware what is MITRE attacks, then they have a lot of TTP, the tactic and technique procedures. So each of the execution, we will try to map the metrics accordingly to the metrics, all right? And then we also provide you some of the descriptions regarding the TTP. What is this TTP all about? When you click it, it will open up the MITRE attacks official website to you, that what is the TTP all about. All right, so this is where the additional integration that we have in our XDR optimums. So just to have a couple of few slides before we wrap up the session. So this is to give you some comparison for these three offerings that we have for our optimum levels. So of course, the one that you're seeing here is our foundation one, the EDR foundation. We have all these essentials, endpoint protections, endpoint controls was already in place. And once you have this EDR foundation in place, then you start to move on to the EDR capability. This is where our EDR optimum come into the pictures, give you not only for the endpoint protections, apart from that, we also give you some essential EDR capability, like I mentioned, root cause analysis, guided response, do some automated response as well by isolating the host, or you want to do cross endpoint IOC scanning and response, right? And we also provide the mobile securities as well. The license was already covered that. Then you can install that into your mobile devices, right? And then once you enroll with this EDR optimum, and then you want to move one step further, right? You want to start to enroll some of the essential XDR capability, but not the full-blown XDR. So you can also, with this XDR optimum, you have all the features from EDR foundation, EDR optimum. At the same time, you also enroll some of the XDR capability, like integrated to our security awareness platforms, our cloud sandbox, and also some other XDR capability, like integrating to AD, to block the users, to reset the password, or even those send the malware into our threat intelligence sandbox for further data enrichments, right? So this will be more in details of what are the offering that we have. I mean, after today's session, definitely we're going to share you the slide, so you can take a look into what are the details information. Due to the time constraint, we can't go through every details into it, but this is what we have in every single tiers that we have in the optimums, what are the offering that we have. But lastly here, that I want to mention that if, let's say, for the organization, they have a limited resources in terms of managing the environment or do the investigations, we are providing the MDR services as well, that we have 24/7 is investigated and monitoring the entire incidents that we discovered in the environments by our Kaspersky SOCs, right? So basically, if you offload if let's say you don't have enough resources for the IT security to do the investigation or do the incident response, we have this MXDR optimums actually we can offer to the customer as well, right? So why we migrate from EDR to XDR optimum? So now, just like I mentioned, you have EDR optimum, let's say, you have those EDR capability by doing root cause analysis, everything, you know the inside out or what this incident happened. And why you want to move from the EDR to our XDR optimum is because, first of all, you want to reduce and prevent any human-related, right? So you want to give a training to enroll the user with some security awareness training to improve their security levels, right? So they are not going to become the weakest link in organizations, right? And then, of course, we can make most of our resources to respond easiest. So we have all those automated response that we can integrate to ADs. You can actually isolate the host from the machine if, let's say, there's some infected happening. The next thing is that you can also leveraging our cloud sandbox to provide you more details or more insight on this particular suspicious malicious files, right? And then last but not least, the solution must be easy to use and very effective for you to improve your MTTR, mean time of response or mean time of detections, right? Because as I mentioned, when incident happen, how fast you can detect and respond is the key factors. So with our XDR Optimum to cover all the aspects from our EDR Foundation, EDR Optimums, the XDR Optimum basically gives you the full suite to help you to improve your MTTR, which is the mean time response. So we're coming to the final slide here. What is the key takeaway for today's sessions? So first of all, basically Kaspersky, we are the industry proven, as shared by Jolo just now. The solution basically is built on the best class of the endpoint protections. We have all the tests that has been done by the independent testers. And then once you have the strong foundation for the endpoint level, then you want to move on to the EDR and XDR capability. We already have the solution was already in place for you to adopt it, right? So once you have your essential XDR capability is ready, and you are ready to move on to the full XDR adoptions, we also have a solutions called XDR Expert, as I mentioned, whereby probably we can have another sessions to talk about the full XDR adoption in the futures, right? Once you guys are ready, right? And then last but not least, any effective system, it must be a very simple and efficient to be used, right? If let's say the system is very hard to use, it's not going to bring any benefits. So our solution, basically everything, the console is web-based, it's easy for you to use, and then the most important thing is very efficient to help you to do this kind of detection and response whenever the disaster happens. All right, so with that, I'm sorry that I overrun a little bit. So yeah, that's all my slide. Thank you. Maybe I'll pass over back to Ella.
Thank you so much, Jolo and Jason, for that very insightful session. And at this point, we are moving over to our Q&A. And nakikita ko na you have sent in your questions. Kung meron pa kayong mga gustong ihabol na katanungan, do so sa chat box below as I turn you back over to Jolo and Jason to answer your questions. Take it away, you guys.
All right. Thanks, Ella. So actually, I have several questions here that I like to address as well. So from Sir Ian Frederick, so can we do a request for a demo of a tool and the POC so we can start to evaluate? So actually, sir, most definitely you can have a session with us in terms of the POC, and then we can discuss especially on the part of, what would be your goal in terms of those POC, what are the success criteria that you want to achieve. So for us able to understand what would be your goal in terms of those POC. And then number two, I think this one is intended for you, Jason. So is the list of malicious threat actors updated regularly? So how do Kaspersky analyze this, and what is the process?
Okay, is the list of malicious threat actor updated? Yes, of course. So as I mentioned that we have all these, our threat researchers, our expertise centers, they are actually 24/7 monitoring all these kind of threat activities happening in the globals. So any kind of information that actually share in the care center, that everybody is sharing the same pool, that those are our customers that sharing the same pool in the care center. So all this information are actually updated regularly.
Yeah, and then next question would be, does Kaspersky maintain a database of threat actors so the system can automatically block their malicious activities?
Yeah, of course. The database, of course, when you talk about the threat actors or the signature base of the when you talk about signatures, we are constantly updated the signatures of the malwares. So whenever there's a signature has been released and detected, then you will definitely going to the malware infection, of course. But if let's say for those is the unknown malwares, then of course you can leveraging our some other components like behavior detections. If let's say we found those patterns that actually match with the previous malware family that we discovered so far, so this component also will be helping you to prevent executions from the endpoint levels.
Okay. And then next would be, is this a full SaaS? If not, do we need to have a physical server for implementation, or it can be implemented in the cloud?
Yeah, I just saw this question just now. So a good question. So basically our solutions in terms of management console, we have two types. If you want to implement it fully on-prem, yes, we do have that. And we also have our cloud-based console that you can also leverage that. In our console, we have two types. Depending that how big the environment, how many endpoints that you have. So we have one is dedicated for those smallest one that is less than 300. So that console is actually a fully cloud-based. It's actually for those like a smaller size, like less than 300. You have a basic console that can do the same works. But let's say you have more than 300 or even close to 1,000, so on and so forth, we do have one called Expert Views that they have more features in terms of, like, let's say, for example, the hierarchy of the groupings of the devices and the support of the platform as well. Then you can use the Expert Views of the management console to managing more devices. So to answer this, yes, we do have a SaaS platforms, a cloud-based platform based on the different kind of how many nodes that you have. And also, if let's say customer, they are not ready for the cloud-based, they still want to have everything in on-prem, we do have an on-prem deployment as well.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah. So I think there's another question from this one. So what is the minimum requirement of servers? I think they're referring to the specs on implementing the Kaspersky on, especially on the servers.
Yeah.
So I think we
yeah, I mean, to this requirements of the server, if let's say we talk about when you talk about on-prem, let's say when we want to deploy the entire thing is on-prem, first of all, you need to have a management console server. So the management console server, you can either use it in the Windows or Linux platforms. So of course, we do have a minimum requirements or the recommended requirements in terms of hardware and software for this management console. And then the second one is maybe referring to what if the server that you want to install with the agents. So we also have a documentation that to list it out what are the minimum requirements for this particular device that you want to be protected. So I think after the session, we can share all these informations, including that what is our technical spec requirements, the system requirements to the audience as well.
Yeah. Got it, Jason. So I have here as well, how does Kaspersky EDR or XDR help improve visibility and speed up investigation when incident happens? Are there dashboards or automation features that make it easier for smaller teams?
Yeah. Again, this is a good question. So I think this one I already mentioned just now during the slide. So in terms of helping the visibilities with the EDR capabilities, right? So first of all, you have our the visibility graph for you to see what is really happening at the beginning and what is the root cause of the executable file that actually causing the problem. And then eventually what are the damage or what the activity has been executed by these executables. So you have the full details, the entire audit trails, what is really happening for this entire incident. So with that, then after that, you can, if you find out the root cause, this is the actual executable file that causing the issues, you can actually remove this particular executable to our quarantine. You can even though send it to our cloud sandbox. If let's say you purchase with the XDR Optimum, they can integrate to our sandbox to have further investigation, give you full details into it on what is happening when you execute the executable files. And then you can also do some remediation actions by blocking these users from the ADs, or you want to do some isolations of the host itself to cut off the communications between the infected host to the outside world or to the external networks. So these are the platform that actually we're offering to helping the customer. First of all, as I mentioned, that it's simple to use, especially if, let's say, you have a limited resources for your IT security teams. So this solution basically offer you the web-based console. It's easy to manage and easy to investigate and also do some remediation whenever it's needed.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's two more questions that we need to attend to. So number one would be for the SMB that already has an endpoint protection in place. How easy is it to move towards EDR or even XDR with Kaspersky? Does it require new infrastructure or complex deployment?
Okay, so if let's say existing, you already have some other vendors endpoint protection was already in place. So our EDR capability actually can be installed on top of that. It's just purely on the EDR capability. But our recommended way, because since it's a third party, that we have a limited integration between to those third party, let's say for some remediation actions. So that's why we normally that if the customer have our full suite from the endpoint protections up to the EDR or XDR capability, then we have all these fully integrated platform from the endpoint, EDR, and XDR. So easy for you to do the remediations or investigation or even though the prevention that will be more effective compared to that. But again, if let's say you're comfortable with your existing endpoint protections, you just install the EDR on top of that. Our EDR on top of that is also doable, but our recommended is that also using our endpoint protection as a full suite solutions.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. I think the last question for us would be, can Kaspersky EDR or XDR integrate with other security IT management tool? Or we're already using like SIEM or SOAR platform?
All right, so that question I think is that if you already have some either SIEM or some other security tools, that will be means that your organization's maturity in terms of security is much more higher, that you are ready to adopt with those full-blown XDR as I mentioned earlier. But the one that we cover so far for today is that for those environment that they are not ready for a full-blown XDR, but they want to have some experience on the essential XDR capability, that's where our XDR Optimum actually can come into the pictures. But once that your maturity is there and then you start to want to start to adopt with a full-blown XDR, our XDR expert offering basically will be suitable for that environment, whereby we can consolidate all those data sources that you have. For example, your next-gen firewall, your web proxy, your DLP, your antivirus, your file server logs. All the logs will be collected into our centralized SIEM. And also we have a platform to help you to do correlations, do some normalizations of the data. Then eventually you can use that to become your threat hunting capabilities. But that will be offering under our XDR expert.
Okay. I think we still have a few more questions coming in. So how will it fare with our SIEM tools such as Microsoft Sentinel? Will it just be like redundancy?
How will it fare with our SIEM tools such as? Okay, if you talk about our SIEM, because we do have our SIEM solution, like we call it Kuma, Kaspersky SIEM, it's actually similar as your Microsoft Sentinels, all right? But the thing is that with our XDR expert bundling, we are bundled together with the endpoint, with the EDR, with our SIEM solution as well. So this one will be consolidate everything. So in our Kaspersky SIEM platform, basically you can have a centralized location for you to do threat hunting investigation as well. And then you can do some remediations to the endpoints. So this is how we differentiate. But in terms of the SIEM standalone, we are pretty much the same, just that we have more correlation rules, for example, because our expertise centers, they actually have our own Kaspersky SOC. So they're constantly coming out this kind of a correlation rules that they are detected so far. So this correlation rule will be keep on updated accordingly based on the threat or the researchers that they are discovered so far from the current threat landscape.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jason. I think the last question.
Sorry, Jolo, and to add on, I'm sorry if everyone just see me. My name is Sam. I'm head of the business for Asia Emerging Country. To add on to what Jason mentioned, While a lot of the vendors out there are calculating commercially on event per second, there are two tiers to this. One is average event per second, and one is um, event per second. Right. So how do we calculate versus the rest of the other vendor? We calculate by normalization of the data, while the rest of the other vendors are calculating based on your raw data. So from a cost effectiveness, from a TCO perspective, definitely we are more cost effective. And from a technology perspective, my colleague Jason has already mentioned we have our strength of correlation rule. From a platform, we are a platform technology vendor. If you take a careful look today, we are offering both endpoint and non-endpoint. I mean, for further details, we are happy to come to you to work together with you, with our partners, together with Jolo, to showcase to you, show you more, and share with you more details on our product technology platform. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. So I think for the last question is intended for the implementation coming in for the AWS instance coming for the integration, Jason. So can we host in our AWS instance?
Yeah, I mean, technically, yes. So you can treat it like your uh, private data centers, right? So you're using your AWS. So as long as, let's say, in order to doing this, you need to implement the on-prem instead of you install in the on-prem for our management console. So you just implement the entire management console into your AWS instance. So you just need to fire up either it's a Windows platform or it's a Linux platform. You just host that management console in your AWS. But you just need to make sure that your AWS instance have a connectivity back to all the endpoint that you're managing in your organization networks.
Thank you, Jason. So are there any more questions that will be coming in? We're happy to take more questions. If not, I'll turn it over to Ella.
Thank you, Jolo, Jason, and Sam for answering all of the questions for today. And thank you to all of our attendees for being with us today. We really hope that you had a very insightful session and that if you have any more questions, you can feel free to reach out to us on the contact number that's seen on your screen. And this has been your host, Ella, and we look forward to welcoming you back in our upcoming webinars. And by the way, a copy of this video, of the recording of today's session, will be sent to you in an email with the link shortly. Once again, this has been Ella, and thank you for being with us once again. Okay, so for those who stayed, we are now opening our raffle draw. Once again, we are now opening our raffle draw. All you have to do is to scan the QR code that's located on your screen. I will be giving you guys 2 minutes. Once again, 2 minutes to answer the QR code that's on your screens right now. So do download. And if you are done, do let me know. Say done on the chat box below. At ang mapapanalunan po natin ngayon ay 3,000 pesos worth of Grab voucher. So I will be starting our timer. 2 minutes starts now. So if you are done, do let me know. Say done so I can just see how many people have already answered our survey for a chance to win 3,000 pesos worth of Grab vouchers. So I can see that we're still taking a bit of time. Don't worry, you guys. You still have a minute and 30 seconds left. And if you are done, do say so we can include your names in our list of raffle winners. So who will be taking home this 3,000 peso Grab voucher? Okay, I can see people are sending their done remarks already. So I do wish you all the best of luck. 3,000 pesos to, guys. So I'm very excited to be announcing who our winners will be. Tatlo po ang mananalo sa raffle natin ngayon. Ayan na, nakikita ko na dumadami na ang natapos sa ating survey. And once again, if you haven't seen yet, may QR code tayo dito sa gilid. Scan nyo po yun at sagutan ang ating survey para manalo ng 3,000 worth of grab vouchers sa ating raffle draw na ito. A very great way to end our session. So 30 seconds left, you guys. 30 seconds left. Ang dami nang natapos sa ating survey. I will be giving you a bit more time. 25 seconds left. Bilisan na po natin para makahabol tayo. And I will be naming our first winner in just a short while. 18 seconds left, you guys. I wish you all the best of luck. Nasa screen po natin yung QR code. It's still there sa mga hindi po nakakita. As we are down to the last 5 seconds of our timer. And 3, 2, 1. We are now officially closing our raffle draw. At ang ating unang winner worth getting 3,000 pesos worth of grab voucher ay si Mark Anthony De Leon from Sterling Bank of Asia. Congratulations to you, and our team will be reaching out to you to get your prize. Now, we are moving over to our next winner. Winner number 2 is Jake Jane from City Savings Bank. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, all right? Jake Jane or Jake Jain from City Saving Bank. Congratulations to you. Once again, our team will be reaching out to you to claim your prize. And now for our third and last winner. Last winner na po to. So, tingnan natin sino ang ating lucky winner that will be going home with 3,000 pesos worth of grab voucher. I'll give you guys a bit more time to see. And Emeline Valiente from Wilcon Depot Incorporated. Congratulations to you. And congratulations to all of our winners for today. Once again, si Mark Anthony De Leon, si Jake Jane, at si Emeline Valiente. Congratulations to all of you, and we will be reaching out to you so you can claim your prizes. So once again, this has been Ella Gomez, and thank you all for being with us today. See you in a while.
We are Kaspersky, a cybersecurity trusted partner and technology leader, forged for corporate business. 220,000 of corporate clients in 200 countries already trust us due to our proven global expertise and best-in-class products, confirmed by multiple international awards and recognitions. We are transparent and independent. We have relocated cyber threat-related data storage and processing to Switzerland and offer our source code for external reviews in 10 international transparency centers. We detect cyber attacks from all around the globe, and we know everything about threats from their source, daily detecting new attacks, threats, and malicious files. We help to crack the most sophisticated attacks ever known. Our security experts, including Kaspersky Great Team, track almost 1,000 APT groups worldwide and cooperate with global security organizations. As a cybersecurity leader, we create a mature, scalable product ecosystem for business that provides ultimate protection from all possible cyber attack vectors. We understand the needs, trends, and challenges of different industries and reduce the load on your cybersecurity personnel. We innovate and build a Kaspersky cyber immunity ecosystem where vulnerability or bad code are no longer a big deal. Protect your business from all possible cyber threats and build a cyber immune future with us. Kaspersky. Bring on the future.